Everybody. How are you today? It is Allison, your kitchen and bath design educator, specialist designer. I have something in my eye. And I am using a different platform today. I signed up for something called Restream, and it streams to multi-platforms. So this is the first time I'm using this. I have no idea what's happening, what's going on out there. Let me see if I can at least see if I'm live in the group, something like that. Anybody want to jump on? Oh, here I am. I'm here. Oh, look at this terrible red eyeshadow, pink eyeshadow. It's not good for posting. Okay, so apparently I am live, restreaming live. So this is a new platform, so I can stream to multiple platforms. I don't have to start downloading and uploading and all this other stuff. So I wanted to come on today and say hello because this is What's New Wednesday. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to talk about a few of the kitchen and bath design guidelines. Now, since the original guidelines came out, they've changed over time. And some of the guidelines I agree with, and some of the guidelines I don't. However, some guidelines should be followed steadfast and true because they just make sense. It makes physical sense. People forget that when you're designing the cabinets, we have to remember that we're standing in front of the space. We have eyes and arms that reach out to certain heights and depths. So we bend, we move, we are taking up space as a human being. So it's kitchen design is not only about the kitchens, it's about accommodating people within the space. So we have to think of it in a three-dimensional way. We're not just looking at a floor plan with boxes and things on the wall. We're thinking also about that person in the space. And if you think about people, we take up approximately 24-inch square. So a 24-inch square is what a body requires to occupy, so you're not invading the personal space. Okay, so we need 24 inches front, back, side, whatever, just to stand someplace. And maybe if we took a ruler, we wouldn't be so wide from here to here, but you have to allow for personal space of 24 inches. So let's take that into consideration when designing a kitchen, because often there's not just one person in the kitchen, and the smallest walkway we're going to have is in a galley kitchen, which is really just meant for one person going back and forth. And because of our minimums, especially here in Manhattan and smaller apartments, the clearance in a galley kitchen could be as little as 36 inches. So it really only allows 24 inches for one person and 12 inches for somebody else. So it doesn't really work for two people to occupy that space at the same time. And when you're thinking about kitchen design, let's think of it in inches and spaces. A cabinet box, the box alone for a base, is 24 inches. Okay. Then you have about an eighth of an inch space, a quarter of a 16th, whatever the thickness of the space for the door. Then the door is typically 3/4 of an inch thick. It could even be 5/4, which is an inch and a quarter thick. I'm talking inches because I'm here in America. So it is approximately 25 inches deep on the base cabinet. So that's the base cabinet. However, you now have the countertop. So the countertop is now going to overhang the 25 inches by approximately an inch to an inch and a half, because you want to kind of cover where the handles are, because we also have the handles, which is another projection. So in reality, we end up with a countertop area that's about 26 inches deep. Yet we always say 24. We just go by 24 inches. So that's a 2-inch difference. So if we were to take the actual measurement of 26 inches, you would be adding 2 inches to your dimension of when you're spacing for 48 inches, because it's countertop to countertop. So your measurements get inches, 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 and you've got all these little details. With the NKBA guidelines give certain minimums for walkway for distances, and keeping in mind that we have 2 people usually in a kitchen, in a house kitchen, in a larger kitchen, there's usually going to be 2 people in the kitchen. And you know what, even in a small kitchen, there's going to be more than one person in the kitchen, because everybody tends to gather in the kitchen. I don't know why, but that's what they do. It is a gathering room. It could be the size of a postage stamp, or it could be a grand ballroom. Everybody's going to be in that kitchen. It's just the way we are. Subconsciously, we go right into that kitchen. So taking in space, taking in walkways, people walking around, I take up 2 feet. If someone else wants to pass by me, they also take up 2 feet. So I've got 48 inches that I need for people to walk back and forth clearly. So that's where the 48-inch distance between the countertops come from. And 48 inches in walkways comes from, because people take up a certain amount of space. Then you have to say, well, within that walking space, are there things that are going to intrude? Is there a refrigerator that's going to open up? Is there an oven that I need to open up, step back, and bend down from, where I could be taking up, instead of my 24 inches, I'm now taking up 24 plus the depth of the appliance door, which, if it's an oven, it could be another 20 inches, let's say, for the door to open, or 18 inches. So we have an accumulation of inches of space that you need clear to walk, to open appliances, for people to maneuver around. So let's see if I can share some of what the recommended minimums are from the NKBA, um, and also codes. I think that we all know that we can kind of push everything a little to the little, and our customer tells us, oh, we don't care that it's 30, only 27 inches, I'll be able to get in that space. But will your refrigerator be able to get into that space? Will the appliance be able to make that turn and get in and around it, everything, and set into that space? How can appliances move in and out of certain clearances? So you have to keep all that in mind when you're designing a kitchen. So it's not just about where I'm putting the boxes and, oh, the clearances are this, but it's a lot of moving parts. It's a puzzle. We're putting together a puzzle. So let me try and see. I did open it up before, and now, is it still there? Is it open? Where'd it go? This one, I want to open that. Okay, so let me see if I can share this screen. Start screen sharing. And now I can, window. Here we go. Is that it? Yes. Okay, so let me, okay, so there's my window. Okay, I'm going to make it big. actually, no, it's too big. I can't really see what I'm doing. I want to just make sure how it looks on the screen is kind of how it. Oh, and there's my background. I put my funky background in there and it did come out. Okay, that's my background. So if I make it bigger, it kind of takes over my whole screen. Is it moving around? No. Okay, so it's just going to do this screen. That's nothing I could do about it. Okay, so. Oh, and there it does the whole thing. Okay. Okay, so you see what this is here, our recommended height. So this is the slides I put together for the kitchen and bath design guidelines that I have in my Kitchen and Bath Design Academy. And I just wanted to reiterate these drawings in the group so you can see what it says. So it's a saying, this guideline is saying to have 42 inches minimum clearance between countertop to countertop, whether it's a galley, whatever it is. Okay. It should be 42-inch minimum because of the reasons that I just stated about how people take up 24 inches. So if I have two people in the space and no one's really standing straight up against the countertop, we're kind of taking in 24 to 30 inches of space to be able to move around, move our elbows, bend, and do the things in the kitchen that we would normally do. So 42 inches is the minimum of what they're saying. I think now they increased it to 48 and 54, but I still go with the 42-inch minimum. I think it's the minimum that it should be. Some people will shove it to 39, but that's really, you're taking away the inches to inches. And when you're measuring the space from space to space, before the countertop goes in, it's 42 inches. But by the time the doors are on, the overhangs are on, and everything else is on, I'm really only ending up with a 40-inch space from side to side. So keep in mind, keep it as wide as you can, no matter what the client says, because after all, you're the designer. And unless you're ready to sign a disclaimer that you don't suggest that, you have to be careful. There's nobody who's going to come in with a code unless it's Americans with disabilities housing, that it has to be ADA. Then you have to have 48 inches. You have to have your 60-inch turnaround. You can't get away without it because those are the requirements within ADA kitchens and bathrooms. So it's requesting 48 inches here on this side. But do you see where the 48 inches is from? Do you see how in this particular drawing, it's from the refrigerator, the face of the refrigerator, not the refrigerator box, not the countertop, but the face of the refrigerator. So think of it as the face of the appliance. If you have one of those pro ranges, those come out. They're not 24 inches deep. They're 30 inches deep. They're 32 inches deep. By the time you add on the front part of the range, the handle on the range, and all the other things with that range, you're not at a 24-inch mark unless it's a drop-in cooktop. That's impossible because you have projections on appliances. So keep that in mind when you're specifying your walkarounds. If you want two people to pass by, you need a minimum of 48 inches. If it's a single person, ideally it's 42 inches. And the galley kitchens, which are pre-made to be only 36 inches, you really can't do anything about that. So here we have the other drawing about, I'm sorry, I have had surgery on my mouth, so you all have to know I have salivary gland issues. I need to drink while I'm talking. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Now we talk about when someone is sitting at an island, and I see people sitting in an island, sitting at a peninsula, seating. We have to remember again, people take up 24 inches. So whenever you're counting your space from people going side to side to side to side, you need to say you take up 24, 48, 60, 72. Okay, so everybody is 2 feet. You count 2 feet for a seat. Left to right really would be ideally more. You could squeeze it to be a little bit 21, but that's tight. But you want to leave a minimum of 24 inches between seated guests. Now it's telling you, okay, so this applies to a dining room too. If you have a dining room and you want to put in your dining room table up against the wall, here it's telling you can do it up to 32 inches minimum. And we all know that's tight. Nobody can scooch behind you. So if you want to have a dining room where people can get up and around you and everything, you need to have 36 inches clear. So for any kind of a table, dining room table, countertop table, island table, seating, whatever the seating is, it's always best to have a minimum of 36 inches behind you. And that's with a wall behind you, or another piece of furniture behind you, or an appliance behind you. Well, and that shouldn't even be an appliance behind you. It should be a wall. Okay. We're talking about a wall behind you with nothing on it, or maybe a credenza in a dining room, because who goes into the credenza that much? It's really fixed. So then, if you want to be seated, and someone walk past you against a wall where you don't have to move your chair at all, you want to be able to, and you want to walk normally, it's a 44-inch dimension. Then here it's saying with a wheelchair to have 60 inches. But what this applies to also, if it's not a wall, it would be your working appliances. Like, let's say you had a wall oven here, or a refrigerator that opened up, or a microwave that opened up. Anything that's going to protrude into the walkway area, you need to allow 60 inches clearance space for your the countertop edge, to where a operational, movable, a door opening and closing, of any kind, whether it's an entrance into a room, whether it's an appliance. Like I said, it could be the pantry, it could be anything where you're opening cabinet doors. Okay, because if you have a 36-inch refrigerator, someone is standing in front of it, and I've got two doors opening it, and then I've got somebody sitting behind me. So we've got sitting and activity going on at the same time. You have to leave room for all these things to happen in the kitchen. And here they're talking about your countertop depth, and I disagree with the, just because if it's 42 inches high, it can be 12 inches deep. If it's 36 inches high, it could be no. Forget about the how high these countertops are. Okay, forget the height. It's the depth. If the minimum you want for a countertop seating is a 24 inches wide, side left to right, and 12 inches in front of you. You need 12 inches in front of you to be able to get your feet underneath here and sit and eat. And I'm not talking about like at a bar where you get these bars with these at a bar, like a serving bar where they serve drinks and food. Have you ever sat at one of those bars and they have you get your feet, and then there's a wooden decorative edge, and you can't get your food until it's way back there? Well, think about these things of, okay, now I'm going to sit and I'm going to eat. I don't want to have my feet out here and lean in. I want to scooch in a little bit. You need at least 12 inches for your knees, for your feet, to be able to scooch in and not have your food all in your lap and eat over uncomfortable. So the minimum is a 12-inch overhang. Then it goes, and then like everything in the kitchen, it's increments of 3, and it can go up to 15 inches deep. And then the next one is 18, and that gets a little iffy whether you need a countertop support or not. A lot of times you need countertop supports when you have an overhang of 18 inches or greater. And so keeping in mind, you need 24 inches in width. So if somebody wants to sit on the end of this countertop, you would have to extend this out to be 24. So I'd have 24 inches on this side and 24 inches on this side. Keeping in mind, we're sharing knee. If someone sits here and someone's sitting here, we're banging our knees, okay? So we're banging our knees over here. So think about these things when you're designing your space, okay? So let's stop sharing that. And let me minimize that. Did that work? Let's hope that worked, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So it's always keeping a matter of the proportions of people in our space. And I don't mean to be mean. Well, I know I'm not a tiny person. I'm an average person, but they're like, let's say you're a guy, you're 6'6". He's gonna take up through 30 inches space. Or if you're petite but round, you could take up more. Or if you're a child, you only need 18 inches space, but the average is 24 inches. So think of 24-inch blocks walking around that space and people moving in and out of things. And not only are we walking like robots, we might be carrying something, we might be dragging something. We could be talking to somebody and not watching where we're going. So we want to make it safe when we're walking around a kitchen and we're walking around a space. So just because a client wants it doesn't make it workable. And it's more important that it works, because the kitchen is all about function. Okay, we have to function first. And if it doesn't function properly, then the whole aesthetic and the people in it are not going to have a good experience. And that's why we ask all the questions that we do. How many people are cooking at the same time? So a lot of and when people pose questions to other designers, good designers take a lot of information from their client to be able to make a decision on how to design their space. So I take a long intake with my questions, my questionnaire. How do you cook? How do you entertain? How many? And you have to realize that if there are people in that house, they're gonna be in that kitchen. They're going to want to sit at the dining room table. They're going to want to sit at that countertop. They're going to want to be in the kitchen. It's just the way things are. And if you have people sitting at an island and their back is to a often used appliance like a refrigerator, you're going to have a traffic jam, interference, someone always having to move their chair, possibly. Let's say if you only have 48 inches or if you only have 42 inches, you're going to have interference of people walking back and forth. And I'll say this, and it doesn't even have to be an adult. People, there are kids in kitchens too. And I'll never forget that when my sister had the oven down and she was in front of the oven, and I wanted to get by, and I was little. I was like 5 years old, and I'm like, move away. I want to go past you. So tried to, or I tried to scooch by. What she scooched by behind me. I was standing there and she scooched. I scooched. I don't know who scooched. Whatever I know is lost my balance and went like that right on the oven door. And I burnt both my hands when I was a little girl because I got banged and landed into that oven door. Okay. So the kitchen is a dangerous place. There's heat, there's fire, there's smoke, there's all, knives, glasses, things break, things drop. people are it's a chaotic room. So think about who's in the space and how you're walking around. And if you're at the oven, imagine, okay, I'm going to bend down and open up the microwave drawer. Is that where anyone is going to be passing by me? And also that, so where you have, like, don't open a door into an appliance, don't have two appliances opening into each other. The same idea. Don't block things with people. Don't block them with a chair. Don't block them because you made the walkway too small. So these are all the things we need to do to anticipate what's going to happen in the kitchen. And it just gets more intuitive over time. The more and more you do it, the more you learn, the more you get accustomed to thinking this way until you can't shut it off. It doesn't stop. You have to kind of teach yourself in the beginning that it's not just about a base 18 base, which is a 3-drawer base, which is, do I want this kind of storage or that kind of storage? It's space planning. So you're not space planning with couches and sofas, you're space planning with people, appliances, and cabinetry. So different premise. Again, function first, form later. And form, by form, I mean the colors, the and the finishes. Of course, function would also include lighting and electric. So it's a complicated room to design, but it's important to just take that list and check that list off. And the customer is not always right. And was there anything else I did want to talk about this one other quandary that I did get about a designer. And upon in further investigation, it was just, they wanted to know how to get this panel look and this inset look. And when there is a way to do frameless cabinetry, so it does look inset. And it has to do with end panels, putting in end panels, where to put the end panels in, and finishing things off, and the depths of the cabinets adjoining each other, blah, 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 blah. So there are ways to figure certain things out. But when I looked at the drawings further, I could see that panel was added, that panel was added. So they took a full overlay door and they put end panels out flush to the face of the door, making it appear that it was an inset door on a full overlay European style cabinetry. So anyway, that's what I have to say today. Thank you so much for watching. And I have to figure out how to end this. How do I end it? Do I end it here? Remove from stream? I don't know how to end it. End stream. There we go. Thanks, guys. Take care. Ciao for now. Peace out. 1 minute, 1 minute. Hello? I was streaming. Oh.